Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, January 26th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect mostly clear skies and a high of 74 degrees in San Antonio today. The warm weather won't last, though, as a cold front is coming to drop temperatures back to normal for tomorrow. Vaccine maker Moderna said Monday that its vaccine is effective against new variants of the coronavirus that have emerged in Britain and South Africa. But it appears to be less protective against the variant discovered in South Africa, so the company is developing a new form of the vaccine that could be used as a booster. Read more about the vaccine efforts over at expressnews.com. Also on expressnews.com today, we'll have coverage of the Commissioner's Court meeting and a report from our taste team about the new kolache shop in San Antonio. Next up are your top stories for the day. The public will soon weigh in on one of the biggest archaeological discoveries in recent years in San Antonio and its impact on Bexar County's flood control, heritage, and beautification project on the historic San Pedro Creek. Two virtual meetings will be held February 4th and February 16th during a comment period that runs through March 8th. The meetings will focus on preservation and design issues concerning a cluster of 1800s foundations connected to at least 3 known industrial sites, as well as an 1870s location of St. James African Methodist Episcopal Church, one of the oldest black churches in Texas. Scott Huddleston has everything you need to know over at expressnews.com. President Joe Biden signed an order Monday allowing transgender people to again openly serve in the military, reversing the transgender ban imposed by the Trump administration 4 years ago. San Antonio native Matt Pesqueda, who lost a coveted ROTC scholarship at the University of Texas at Austin because he's a transgender student, said he wants to re-enter ROTC as early as this fall and get his scholarship back. He was awarded the grant from the Northeast School of the Arts, where he was in the National Honor Society. Read more about Pesqueda and the details of Biden's order in Sid Christensen's latest story. Johnny Guerra believes in service to others. For more than 30 years, Guerra has served on the Freeman Coliseum Community Advisory Board and is a 9-year member of the Eastern Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem, one of the Catholic Church's highest honors. Since 1966, the 85-year-old has owned the A&A Body Frame and Paint Shop located on East Commerce Street just minutes from downtown. 5 days a week, Guerra and his wife Lillian arrive at the shop at 8:30 a.m. and work until 6 p.m. His desk sits across the invoice-covered desk of his bride of 65 years. Quote, "He's been in many arenas," Lillian Guerra said, "but the one that means the most is the community arena. He's so dedicated." Vincent T. Davis tells their story in his latest article. Beginning last summer, school districts across Texas took comfort in knowing they would not lose state funding despite having fewer students in classrooms as a result of the pandemic. The Hold Harmless guarantee from the Texas Education Agency was a lifeline for districts during a school year marked by unprecedented enrollment losses. But the commitment expired around the start of the new year. Now, superintendents fear they could lose millions of dollars in state funding if the TEA decides not to reinstate the Hold Harmless policy. Andres Picon breaks down what we know about the situation over at expressnews.com. Head over to expressnews.com to check our San Antonio COVID-19 vaccine tracker. The map shows the percentage of a county's total population that has been vaccinated. Because the authorized vaccines require 2 doses, people who have only received 1 dose are considered partially vaccinated. It's just one of the maps and charts available over at expressnews.com. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside of your Express News subscription. Coronavirus transmission in San Antonio finally began to stabilize Monday, but officials caution that it's still too early to say whether the winter surge has peaked. Construction on the border wall is set to end this week, according to U.S. Rep. Henry Cuellar. A San Antonio HEB has been cited for violating the emergency COVID-19 orders in the city. We're keeping track of all the citations issued in San Antonio over at expressnews.com. A San Antonio police officer recently accused of bribery, allegedly taking money to provide a domestic abuser with details about the case, is now facing a child pornography charge. Tuesday marks the one-year anniversary of Kobe Bryant's death in a California helicopter crash. The Spurs' DeJounte Murray said his triple-double in Sunday night's win was inspired by the late superstar. Monday night's Pelicans-Spurs game was postponed at the last minute due to what the NBA called ongoing contact tracing within both clubs that left neither with the 8 available players required to proceed. CPS Energy officials Monday said the utility will consider closing the Spruce coal plant ahead of schedule, and then opted to withhold from the public details of what such a move would cost ratepayers. Lobbyists representing the oil and gas companies in Washington are trying to navigate a new administration that has put climate change near the top of its priority list. Sun Country Airlines is launching a twice-a-week service from San Antonio International Airport to Cancun, Mexico in May, the latest sign that the aviation industry is expecting demand for international travel to climb this year as more people get the COVID-19 vaccine. UTSA launched construction of its downtown School of Data Science and National Security Collaboration Center, a $90,167,000 square foot facility with a virtual groundbreaking on Monday. Leaders of San Antonio Water System dropped a lawsuit Monday aimed at stopping a petition drive to overhaul the city-owned utility in its tracks, arguing that petitioners didn't gather enough signatures to bring their proposed reforms before voters anyway. The Express News editorial board writes, quote, "What's worse than a year without Fiesta in San Antonio? Fiesta becoming a super spreader event." Read their latest editorial, "What's to Study? Postpone Fiesta." Joseph Cooper admits he has a bad addiction to the more picturesque history of San Antonio. That would explain the more than 10,000 vintage postcards he's been collecting for decades. For half his life, the 53-year-old Alamo City native has collected various 4x6-inch portraits of his hometown, some more than a century old. The postcards spotlight all sorts of landmarks in old San Antonio, from enduring hallmarks like the Alamo and the Riverwalk to gone but not forgotten haunts like Joski's and Playland Park. The dictionary calls it deltiology, the study and collection of postcards. You can just call it being puro posto for San Antonio. Rene Guzman has more in his latest article. $149 people and counting have placed bids on eBay for Toby King's crocheted Bernie Sanders doll. It's at $15,000 now, with proceeds going to Meals on Wheels. On this week's Chuck's Food Shack, Chuck dives into the Super Bowl with 3 recipes for wings that go beyond buffalo: honey sriracha, smoked pesto, and Thai peanut. One Texas man has been easing his pandemic boredom by creating a list of songs with connections to every single day of the calendar year. Catch up on the past week of action in girls soccer, boys basketball, and boys basketball. Check out the updated Express News area rankings and players of the week over at expressnews.com. And that's all for today. This was your Express briefing for Tuesday, January 26th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.